Good afternoon. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, y'all. 48 Laws of Power, episode 31. What up to the chats on both Rumble and YouTube? Shout out. Firsty was first. Frogget. Cat Ninja. Hey, everybody. Who we got on Rumble? Firsty and Cat Ninja. Playing around. Good to see everybody. Really is. Welcome to the early episode. For those who weren't here Friday when I explained why we're doing the stream at 3 o'clock and not 8 o'clock, I have a reason. It's very important. It's National Championship today. Go Blue. Fuck out of here if you're not with it. And this should be a fun law. It really should. So hopefully everybody will be able to... Oh, and a squabble over on the Rumble side. Only in this specific scenario, Squab. I promise you, if it wasn't Michigan playing in this game, I wouldn't give a shit. Yeah, sports ball. Sports ball team is going to win Firsty. Because they're going to control the options. And they're going to make Washington play their game. Which, coincidentally, leads me into Law 31. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards you deal. I prefer saying it, get others to play the cards you deal, but semantics. So, yeah, that's kind of ironic. But it's going to be a lot of fun because I didn't read the chapter ahead of time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I did read the judgment just a few minutes ago, and I was like, oh, yes, this one. This law is kind of important. It's kind of relevant right now. It's very, very relevant. Coming into the current year, 2024. Just the judgment alone was like, oh, I see where I'm going to end up going with this, because the judgment is as follows. The best deceptions are the ones that seem to give the other person a choice. Your victims feel they are in control, but are actually your puppets. Give people options that come out in your favor, whichever one they choose. Force them to make choices between the lesser of two evils, both of which serve your purpose. Put them on the horns of a dilemma. They are gored wherever they turn. Ahem. Does anybody here, like, what is your first thoughts on this judgment? Because I know exactly where my mind went to this, especially when they used the phrase the lesser of two evils. In what context do we use that phrase? And how does it relate to power? Anybody? Bingo. Bingo. Our specifically American, but this seems to actually manifest across international lines. But the two-party system is definitely, I mean, that's how it was explained to me, choosing between the lesser of two evils, neither of whom are actually your choice. They are puppets for you. Puppets given to you by people who have actual power. And you are gored. Yeah, yeah. There you go. I mean, in some people's opinion, some people think fuck that guy too. I mean, and the other guy is the lesser of two evils. Although, are either of them really in significant position of control enough to even be? I mean, they're just the illusion of evil or the illusion of choice at this point, which is how to play the power game. And this one really, like I said, this one really hit me because that's what they've done to us specifically. They have given us the illusion of having a choice, and it's kind of bullshit. So let's get into the observance of the law and see how they do it. Observance of the law 1. From early in his reign, Ivan the Fourth, who we just referenced a couple laws back as well, later known as Ivan the Terrible, I think it was Law 28, had to confront an unpleasant reality. The country desperately needed reform, but he lacked the power to push it through. The greatest limit to his authority came from the boyars, who, if y'all remember, he did deal with. The Russian princely class that dominated the country and terrorized the peasantry. Well, hello, Texas Jen. Rondo, wow. Very long time no see. I'd say long time no see to Texas Jen, but I come by the experts at least twice a week, so I might not always stick around long, but good to see everybody. Wow. Football or Darth, I'm going to eat a sandwich. that's that's a power play, squab. In 1553, at the age of 23, Ivan fell ill. Lying in bed, nearing death, he asked the boyars to swear allegiance to his son as the new czar. Some hesitated, some even refused. Then and there, Ivan saw he had no power over the boyars. He recovered from his illness, but he never forgot the lesson. The boyars were out to destroy him. And indeed, in the years to come, Many of the most powerful of them defected to Russia's main enemies, Poland and Lithuania, where they plotted their return and the overthrow of the Tsar. Even one of Ivan's closest friends, Prince Andrei Kirbsky, suddenly turned against him, defecting to Lithuania in 1564 and becoming the strongest of Ivan's enemies. Oh boy. So shit is compounding on our friend here. I mean, our comrade. My bad. When Kirbsky began raising troops for an invasion, the royal dynasty seemed suddenly more precarious than ever, with emigre nobles fomenting invasion from the west, Tartars bearing down from the east, and the boyars stirring up trouble within the country. Russia's vast size made it a nightmare to defend. In whatever direction Ivan struck, he would leave himself vulnerable on the other side. Only if he had absolute power could he deal with this many-headed hydra. This seems to be the theme of the current power structure and administration as well, because they seem to be in a very similar predicament. Only with us, it's China and Russia and those damn pesky liberty-loving uh, domestic organizations, the patriots, if you will, that are threatening the current oligarchy's power structure, and they have to deal with that many-headed hydra. And he had no such power. That's unfortunate. Ivan brooded until the morning of December 3rd, 1564, when the citizens of Moscow awoke to a strange sight. Hundreds of sleds filled the square before the Kremlin, loaded with the Tsar's treasures and with provisions for the entire court. They watched in disbelief as the Tsar and his court boarded the sleds and left town. Without explaining why, he established himself in a village south of Moscow. For an entire month, a kind of terror gripped the capital, for the Muscovites feared that Ivan had abandoned them to the bloodthirsty boyars. Shops closed up and righteous mobs gathered daily. This all sounds dreadfully familiar, doesn't it? I I don't do accents. I didn't do that. That's in your imagination. Finally, on January 3rd of 1565, a letter arrived from the Tsar explaining that he could no longer bear the boyar's betrayals and had decided to abdicate once and for all. He gives up. He's fucking quitting. What the actual shit? Read aloud in public, the letter had a startling effect. Merchants and commoners blamed the boyars for Ivan's decision and took to the streets terrifying the nobility with their fury. Soon, a group of delegates representing the church, the princes, and the people made the journey to Ivan's village and begged the Tsar, in the name of the Holy Land of Russia, to return to the throne. Ivan listened but would not change his mind. After days of hearing their pleas, however, he offered his subjects a choice. Either they grant him absolute powers to govern as he pleased, with no interference from the boyars, or they find a new leader. Do as I say and or go fuck yourself. Hmm. Well played, sir. Well played. Faced with a choice between civil war, okay, all Tim Pool beanie-ites, go ahead and take a shot. We said the word. And the acceptance of despotic power. Once again, this topic is very, very poignant. Almost every sector of Russian society opted for a strong czar, calling for Ivan's return to Moscow and the restoration of law and order. See, this is why liberty fails, because liberty is inherently chaotic, it's dangerous, and you can't have anarchy because there will always be somebody who lusts for power, and that person will form a collective, or those people in general. Like somebody will lead a collective, they will form a collective of power, and they will, through force, become the de facto government. Good afternoon, Inimers. Yeah, my way to highway indeed. She called us Ellen, but she meant everyone. I know she meant everyone, but it's hard to write that. And the autocorrect gonna say Ellen, apparently. Yeah, this Tsar has not gone mental. This Tsar is doing like he's got them over a barrel, because they clearly all. I mean, the delegates came from the church, the people, and the princes. So everybody is represented in the begging him to come back, which means he's got all the bargaining. He's in full control of the situation. He's not gone mental. In February, with much celebration, because the people are weak and cannot govern themselves, Ivan returned to Moscow. The Russians could no longer complain if he behaved dictatorially. They had given him this power themselves. You agreed to it. Don't bitch now. Elon the Muscovite? Oh my goodness, Squabob with a very, very poignant comment. Nice. Very, very close to the situation. Elon the Muscovite. He's got a bunch of Muscovites. What's he got? Like 160 million followers on his platform, Twix Zitter. That's the pronouns for the trans platform X. Don't dead name it. Interpretation. Ivan the Terrible faced a terrible dilemma. To give in to the boyars would lead to certain destruction, but civil war would bring a different kind of ruin. Even if Ivan came out of such a war on top, the country would be devastated and its divisions would be stronger than ever. Pay attention, class. You're about to relive Ivan's dilemma. Well, we're currently the country reliving. Uh, his weapon of choice in the past had been to make a bold offensive move. Act with boldness was the law that we visited him in. And I think it was 28, it might have been 29. Now, however, that kind of move would turn against him. The more boldly he confronted his enemies, the worse the reactions he would spark. So he kind of lost his power with that play. Because you can't just be brutal all the time. And he was known for some fierce brutality. Drug addled miscreant. Is that because he smoked pot with Joe Rogan one time on Joe Rogan's show? Definitely not put out on by mainstream mediaites or lefties who can't meme. The main weakness of a show of force is that it stirs up resentment and eventually leads to a response that eats at your authority. So, like I said, you can't show weakness, but you can't be obtusely brutal either. Both of these things are going to threaten your power. Yeah, but he doesn't work for anybody, so people work for him. I don't think that's how you're supposed to do that. Ivan, immensely creative in the use of power, saw clearly that the only path to the kind of victory he wanted was a false withdrawal. He would not force the country over to his position. He would give it options. Either his abdication and certain anarchy, or his accession to absolute power. To back up his move, he made it clear that he preferred to abdicate. Call my bluff, he said, and watch what happens. No one called his bluff. By withdrawing for just a month, he showed the country a glimpse of all the nightmares that would follow his abdications. Tartar invasions, civil war, ruin. All of these did eventually come to pass after Ivan's death in the infamous time of the Troubles. So he managed to delay the inevitable, but the problem with the inevitable is its sheer inevitability. Withdrawal and disappearance are classic ways of controlling the options. You give people a sense of how things will fall apart without you, and you offer them a choice. I stay away and you suffer the consequences, or I return under circumstances that I dictate. In this method of controlling people's options, they choose the option that gives you power because the alternative is just too unpleasant. You force their hand, but indirectly, they seem to have a choice. Wherever people feel they have a choice, they walk into your trap that much more easily. Oh no, hope you feel better. Hey, Mousin. It's good to see you. Hello, Claire. Good to see you. Everybody is all getting here. Did anybody bring the bee with them? I mean, it wouldn't be the gang. The German Chancellor Bismarck, enraged at the constant criticisms from Rudolf Virchow, the German pathologist and liberal politician. Oh, I like this guy less already. Had his seconds call upon the scientist to challenge him to a duel. As the challenged party, I have the choice of weapons, said Virchow, and I choose these. He held aloft two large and apparently identical sausages. One of these, he went on, is infected with deadly germs. The other is perfectly sound. Let His Excellency decide which one he wishes to eat, and I will eat the other. Almost immediately, the message came back that the Chancellor had decided to cancel the duel. I mean, that's not a fun choice. I'm not playing that game. But those are the rules of dueling. You went on a juju hunt? Uh, gotcha. Well, she may stop in. If not, I mean, she controls the options in that regard. I went looking for petals, stars, and bees. I hate StreamYard and how terrible emojis look on this thing. I know what they're supposed to look like. Oh dear goodness. Don't don't tell her about that, Cat Ninja. Anyway, back to it. Don't duel with infected death sausage. That's from the Little Brown Book of Anecdotes by Clifton Fadiman. I don't know if this is actually going to be something I can read because they're doing the thing with the title, and I'm not entirely sure what the actual fuck something about the liar. Once upon a time, there was a king of Armenia who, being of a curious turn of mind and in need of some new diversion, sent his heralds throughout the land to make the following proclamation. Hear this. Whatever man among you can prove himself the most outrageous liar in Armenia shall receive an apple made of pure gold from the hands of His Majesty the King. Oh boy, sign me the fuck up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm terrible at fucking lying. Even if I tried, I would botch that miserably. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you should check out. Oh, it's a cat ninja emoji. Gotcha. Funny that. Funny that. You should probably see the Rumble side. People began to swarm to the palace from every town and hamlet in the country, people of all ranks and conditions, princes, merchants, farmers, priests, rich and poor, tall and short, fat and thin. There was no lack of liars in the land, and each one told his tale to the king. A ruler, however, has heard practically every sort of lie, and none of these now told him convinced him convinced the king that he had listened to the best of them. The king was beginning to grow tired of his new sport and was thinking of calling the whole contest off without declaring a winner when there appeared before him a poor, ragged man carrying a large earthenware pitcher under his arm. "What can I do for you?" asked his majesty. "Sire," said the poor man, slightly bewildered, "surely you remember. You owe me a pot of gold, and I have come to collect it." "You are a pet-feet liar, sir," exclaimed the king. "I owe you no money." "A perfect liar. Okay. A perfect liar, am I?" said the poor man. "Then give me the golden apple." The king, realizing the man was urging to trick him, started to hedge. "No, no, you are not a liar. Then give me the pot of gold you owe me, sire," said the man. The king saw the dilemma. He handed over the golden apple. Oh boy. Oh, that was a good lie though. Like, give me my pot of gold you owe me, or call me the perfect liar. Uh, checkmate, sucker. Armenian folk tales and fables, retold by Charles Downing with all the typographical errors you or formatting errors you can fucking imagine. But that one was not the worst one I've seen in this book so far. So, um, you have to go on the little. I don't know if you can do it on your phone, Mousy, or how it works on your phone. But if you're doing it on a PC, like there is a section, channel section before the Rumble section that has all the custom ones. So you might have to like check it out from the laptop because I'm not sure it's attainable from the actual mobile side. Oh, well, hello there, Bijou and Michelle. My memory is too faulty for me to lie. It's hard enough to remember true events. Fuck out of here trying to remember the false ones. That's and when you talk to as many people as we do, it's like you can't go around telling lies. Shit catch up to you. But I like the way that the poor man gave the king the false choice. Like, shit. You either owe me the pot of gold or the golden apple. Take your pick. I've come to collect my prize one way or the other. But what did we learn about our man Ivan's situation? Because I feel like sometimes you just have to do that, especially with people who seek to exploit you. The approach Ivan took of just the like, okay, well, you want to take advantage of my good nature. Here, why don't you just see what life is like without me. Like, you clearly seem to need me more than I need you. So that illusion of choice, like, gives you all the power in a situation effectively because you can just leave. And if you make it clear that you would prefer to just fuck off on out of here, then they're like you're still going to be exploited if you give them what you want. But if you do it on your terms, then you can also find your benefit yourself, which makes it a little more mutually beneficial and a little bit more of a willingness to make that deal. Observance of the law 2. As a 17th century French courtesan, oh my goodness, with the uh, Mr. Robert Greene is obsessed with the former glory that once was the French. Oh shit. I have 10 watching on Rumble. I have 10 watching on YouTube. So everybody who supports Rumble, tell a friend. We got to get these numbers up so we can slaughter the garbage YouTube numbers. Anyway, back to our man Ninon de Lencos. Found that oh, it's a woman? Oh dear God. Ninon de Lencos found that her life had certain pleasures. Her lovers came from royalty and aristocracy, and they paid her well. Whore! I'm sorry, I'm not slut shaming, I'm whore shaming. She was a prostitute. They paid her well. You're shaking your tail at the rumbles. A courtesan is a whore? I didn't know that. Dear goodness. I mean, I probably did know that, but it's like not something I committed to memory, but I think I heard that earlier in the book. Entertained her with their wit and intellect, satisfied her rather demanding sensual needs, and treated her almost as an equal. I guess, well, they're not so much taller than you when y'all are doing the horizontal slide. I'm just I'm just throwing that out there. So I guess you can be equal in that regard. You have a hoe, a garden hoe. Yeah, definitely fancy. Like these aren't your streetwalkers. These are courtesan. They make it almost sound fucking official and shit. Remember when we used to do that? Remember when we used to make it sound official and then it became prostitute, which still sounds kind of like, I mean, it's official, but you know what it is, and then it just became whore. And it's like, yeah, fancy whores. Yeah, yeah, I got you. Courtesan, so official. Such a life was infinitely preferable to marriage. Oh boy. In 1643, however, Nignon's mother died suddenly, leaving her at the age of 23 totally alone in the world. No family, no dowry, nothing to fall back upon. A kind of panic overtook her, and she entered a convent, turning her back on her illustrious lovers. A year later, she left the convent and moved to Lyons, where when she finally reappeared in Paris, reappeared in Paris, come on, spit it out, in 1648, lovers and suitors flocked to her door in greater numbers than ever before, for she was the wittiest and most spirited hooker of the time, and her presence had been greatly missed. My goodness. So they really like this hooker. That's what they're saying. Like, I just figured out how to take autocorrect. It only took a month. Yeah, Mullen tea is freaking gross, but it does freaking work if you're freaking sick. That has nothing to do with the laws of power, though. Ninyon's followers quickly discovered, however, that she had changed her old way of doing things and had set up a new system of options. Oh boy. The dukes, seigneurs, and princes who wanted to pay for her services could continue to do so, but they were no longer in control. Ooh. No. She would sleep with them when she wanted, according to her whim. Oh, hell no. All their money bought them was a possibility. Oh, hell, fuck ass no. If it was her pleasure to sleep with them only once a month, so be it. Suck my dick like it's your job. Ho. What did the simps do, though? What did the simps do? Because that is the correct fucking answer. Is suck a dick for $40 or whatever. That is the correct answer. But what did the simps do? Those who did not want to be what Nignon called a payeur could join the large and growing group of men she called her martyrs, men who visited her apartment principally for her friendship, her biting wit, her lute playing, and the company of the most vibrant minds of the period, including Moliere, La Rochefoucauld, and Saint Evremond. The martyrs, too, however, entertained a possibility. She would regularly select from them a favori, a man who would become her lover without having to pay. Ooh, you know the simps are on that train. All the nice guys. And to whom she would abandon herself completely for as long as she so desired. A week, a few months, rarely longer. A payeur could not become a favori, but a martyr had no guarantee of becoming one, and indeed could remain disappointed for an entire lifetime. Oh my goodness. Ah, what a fucking game. 40 bucks is 40 bucks first shot. You tell them. But this bitch got way on the uppity side. I'm just saying. The poet Charleval, for example, never enjoyed Nignon's favors, but never stopped coming to visit. He did not want to do without her company. Hmm. Well, we all have our vices, don't we? We all have our weaknesses and our humans that we just, no matter how we try, can't seem to do without. It's kind of bullshit, but it does tend to be the case for even the strongest among us. As word of this system reached polite French society, Ninon became the object of intense hostility. As well she should. She should come under all the criticism for this bullshit. Her reversal of the position of the hooker scandalized the queen mother and her court. Oh dear. I mean courtesan. I meant courtesan, not definitely not hooker. Much to their horror, however, it did not discourage her male suitors. Of course not. Uh, Woman becomes strong and empowered. Women most affected. The strong empowered women are most affected by a woman who actually becomes like strong and empowered. However, bullshit, whatever bullshit manipulation she uses to get there, she made her own power. Indeed, it only increased their numbers and intensified their desire. It became an honor to be a payeur, helping Ninon to maintain her lifestyle and her glittering salon. Oh my god! If y'all think Simps is a new thing, if you think, understand, my friends, understand when this is. This is 1640 fucking 8. This shit's not new. Accompanying her sometimes to the theater and sleeping with her when she chose. Even more distinguished were the martyrs, enjoying her company without paying for it and maintaining the hopium, however remote, of one day becoming her favori. That possibility spurred on many a young nobleman as word spread that none among the courtesans could surpass Ninon in the art of love. I mean, she had the good pussy. She had that good pussy game, clearly. She had that thing, though. She didn't just have that, though. She apparently had the everything because apparently, like, there's a bunch of people that really just like to be around her. She had that appeal, that magic. And so the married and the single, the old and the young, entered her web and chose one of the two options presented to them, both of which amply satisfied her. This bitch. Yeah, don't hate the player, hate the game, but dear God, I mean, this is why we can't have nice things. This is why we can't have nice things. I mean, was that even a thing back then? And did they even know? Like, probably. She got. Interpretation. The life of the Curtis son entailed the possibility of a power that was denied a married woman because a married woman had to submit to her husband and be dutiful and honorable and faithful. Faithful, friendly, fair, and I forget what the fourth one is. I not too fat. I mean, they had certain expectations, the married women back then. Yeah, I mean that's what it does. It still does that, by the way. If you get it and it goes untreated, it will eat holes in your fucking brain. That's syphilis for you. Ask Al Capone. He died in the 1930s. Courtesans were beautiful and highly skilled, sophisticated sex workers, usually very well provided for. Well, they still are today. We just call them different names. Like, I mean, I will use a courtesan example, not being like, I mean, she's like attractive, but she's basically a base like, but the popularity of the amaranths of the world and the Twitch thoughts, if you will, and Amaranth is a good example, but she's very good at what she does, which is pure and utter manipulation of the weakness of men today. Usually men who are priced out of the dating market and the relationship market, like in general. But I mean, she doesn't even have to fuck them, and she's making millions, millions. It's fucking insane. But I can't hate on her for it. I can't knock her. Like, get your money. But I'll still take a PS5 over a night with you. Yes, far more exclusive. The model has changed. The model of Kurdistan in current year has definitely changed since the 1600s or even the early 1900s. We have a digital world now, and the whole game has changed. Like, degeneracy abounds all over, yada yada. But I'm trying to figure out the interpretation anyway. But it also had its perils, so definitely more power than a married woman who essentially only has power over her children and her domestic household at the time. The man who paid for the courtesan's services, in essence, owned her. No, rented her, determining when he could possess her and when later on he would abandon her. Leasing, maybe, if you're doing it long term, which is essentially what modern marriage is today, but I'm not even going to get into all of that right now. That's a totally different argument, a totally different issue that I have. And when later on he would abandon her. As she grew older, her options narrowed as fewer men chose her. You know why? Because there's younger ones being released every day. Free love devalued good snatch, quantity over quality. Yeah, I mean, there is a whole mess of it, but basically, I mean, you and I might need to bring back that show that we once did to have this discussion of the sexual revolution and how female empowerment ruins everything. Because we never did get to that. We never did. But I'm not opposed. Just because we've not done one of those in a long time does not mean that we can't have this discussion. You know I love you, Michelle. You know, yeah, great to talk to. So you couldn't even make a housewife in the 1600s. Got it. Well, some women just can't be tamed down to the domestic life. It's, it's not in their nature. A lot of women who are tamed down to the domestic life would rather be more free, but have to submit because of the culture. Like, that this shit isn't like new science. Like, you can literally look at all Western countries today, every single one of them. Look at the rate of female empowerment, and then look at their birth rates. uh, Women have the choice that's not conducive for your society long term. Just saying. As she grew older, her options narrowed as fewer men chose her. To avoid a life of poverty, she had to amass her fortune while she was young, which is why a lot of these like porn stars that should have been set for life when they ruined like all their possibilities of the future. And I mean, even like in the 80s and 90s at like the heyday of when women actually could make some dollars in porn, a lot of them ended up ruined because they just spent money thinking that they could just go on doing that forever, when the actual life cycle in their genre, if you didn't become like a producer yourself, was like the average of years tops. The market for MILF porn ain't nearly as big as you think it is. It's there, but it ain't as big as you think it is. There's a market for everything, but there are levels to this shit. Ugh. The courtesan's legendary greed then reflected a practical necessity. Yeah, duh. Yet it also lessened her allure, since the illusion of being desired is important to men. I mean, it's very important, and it's often how men are manipulated, is that illusion of being desired, who are often alienated if their partner is too interested in their money. Now, I ain't saying she a gold digger. You know the rest of the song. Hmm. Hey, nobody said that. Nobody, nobody said that. It, it, it becomes more and more likely to be true each year that goes by, but nobody said that. And and there are levels to that shit too. Trust me, as somebody who's probably never going to enter into another relationship ever, the idea of being by yourself and the idea of being alone, two totally different things. Even though it's the same reality. As the courtesan aged, then, she faced a most difficult fate. So yeah, being and it's not really even so much the money, it's the like it's kind of unattractive when people are just like openly like what can I get from you? Like men do want to be desired. They want to like that's the validation. Like and when you know it's just transactional, it ruins the whole illusion. Mm, yup. She ain't fuck with no boat, did you? Absolutely not. Cats are better than some, if not most men. I mean, most of y'all know this, but family cat had to be put down last Thursday. It was kind of the suck, but my man Jimmy had me on Saturday morning, and he took a photo that I took of her, and he drew it. It was absolutely beautiful, and I got to sit and have a discussion about that. And then at the very end of it, he had showed me another picture that Divinity had drawn previously, and that one pinged my heartstrings probably even harder. So, yeah. Shout out to all the real ones on that one. Like, everybody's been super fucking supportive, and I appreciate y'all just for the record. Hmm. It really was. And so was the one Div drew, although I've never seen Clover actually look that sad before. She usually just always ever looked pissed off. Super green eyes, yeah. I mean, that was the cat. Anyway, before I get a little too choked up. Ninon de Lenclos had a horror of any kind of dependence. She's actually a strong and empowered independent woman. She early on tasted a kind of equality with her lovers, and she would not settle into a system that left her such distasteful options. Fancy bitch. Strangely enough, the system she devised in its place seemed to satisfy her suitors as much as it did her. The payers may have had to pay, but the fact that Ninon would only sleep with them when she wanted gave them a thrill unavailable with every other courtesan. Interesting. Uh, can one of my mods handle this question? Like, can y'all get uh, a link to my man's channel? If not, I can pull it up in a little bit. Just remind me. But I'm pretty sure Cat Ninja, if she's still lurking about, and I'm sure she is, help me out, please. I appreciate you. He is Click Draw Jimmy, yeah. But if someone could grab a link to that, like, go support my man Jimmy Draws, like, for real, for real. I do show up with him on quite a few of the coffee and graphites because I love Jimmy and it's fun to watch him work. He's a master craftsman with a digital pen. Thank you, Cat Ninja. She was yielding out of her own desire. The martyrs avoidance of the taint of having to pay gave them a sense of superiority as members of Ninon's fraternity of simps. They also might someday experience the ultimate pleasure of being or her favori simp, the best, the nicest guy. No, she's going to select the hot ones that know that they don't have to pay, the actual attractive men. If you're not an attractive man in the martyr club, you're not getting chose. Yeah. I mean, it might not be physical attraction, but you can't just be a regular dude in that club and ever get picked. You have to be like the eligible one. Finally, Ninon did not force her suitors into either category. They could choose which side they preferred. A freedom that left them a vestige of masculine pride, but only a vestige. Such is the power of giving people a choice, or rather the illusion of one. For they are playing with the cards you have dealt them, where the alternative set up by Ivan the Terrible involved a certain risk. One option would have led to his losing his power. Ninon created a situation in which every option redounded to her favor. From the payeurs, she received the money she needed to run her salon, and from the martyrs, she gained the ultimate in power. She could surround herself with a bevy of admirers, simps, a harem from which to choose her lovers, and that's imagine being a payer and not being chosen though, because she doesn't feel like it. She's not in the mood, but you're paying for it. Yeah, fuck out of here. God, I don't know what's worse at that point actually. But you gotta imagine that she understood that she had to choose them all at some level of frequency, or they're just gonna stop paying. Maybe, who knows? At this point, I never doubt men's ability to disappoint me. The system, though, depended on one critical factor: the possibility, however remote, that a martyr could become a favori. The illusion that riches, glory, or sensual satisfaction may someday fall into your victim's lap is an irresistible carrot to include in your list of choices. That hope, however slim, will make men accept the most ridiculous situations. You're fucking right, it will. Because it leaves them the all important option of a dream. The illusion of choice, married to the possibility of future good fortune, will lure the most stubborn sucker into your glittering web. You're fucking not even kidding. Uh, by yourself as in at peace, says Firsty over on the Rumble side. Yes, precisely. Like, there are some people who just don't get to have another person for whatever reason, whether it be by choice or by circumstance. But you get to choose yourself what you make of that reality. And there's a million other things out there. There's a billion other people out there. And nobody ever has to be alone. T3 knows that, actually. In fact, that was her scroll bar for her stream this morning was reach out, talk to somebody if you have to, because you're never alone. And that's the truth. So shout out to T3 for that one. J.P. Morgan Sr. once told a jeweler of his acquaintance that he was interested in buying a pearl scarf pin. Just a few weeks later, the jeweler happened upon a magnificent pearl. He had it mounted in an appropriate setting and sent it to Morgan, together with a bill for $5,000. Oh boy! The following day, the package was returned. Morgan's accompanying note read, I like the pin, but I don't like the price. If you will accept the enclosed check for $4,000, please send back the box with the seal unbroken. The enraged jeweler refused the check and dismissed the messenger in disgust. He opened up the box to reclaim the unwanted pin, only to find that it had been removed, and in its place was a check for $5,000. The Little Brown Book of Anecdotes. Ah, that's funny. J.P. Morgan was trying to game him, like, please take this check for $4,000 and don't open that box, please. Ah, shit, damn it, you didn't take the deal. Okay, fine, 5,000. Fuck, I'm a bad negotiator. But what a funny way to play the negotiation, though. Keys to power. Words like freedom, options, and choice evoke a power of possibility far beyond the reality of the benefits they entail. Back to our current political climate. People who support the Orange Man 45 believe that he is like some sort of savior that is going to save our country from the evil Democrat retards, basically, at this point. People who support the other side believe that the evil Orange Man is going to destroy everything. They truly do believe this. It's not true, but they believe the dumb shit. However, having both of these two dumb dancing puppets up there when nobody wants to talk about, like, the core tenets of, and I will say this candidate Obama Swami's arguments, sup, Devo? My guy, here almost in time for the 420. Anyway, back to Trump and Biden. Yeah, they're the illusion of choice, that the power structure that exists. They want you to believe that these two choices are your only, like, options to stave off certain destruction. However, both of these roads lead to the exact same outcome. We know this because we saw this, because they have the power. They are offering you the illusion of choice to make you think that you have power. You have none. I will say this about Ramaswamy, though. One thing that I hear constantly coming up in his speeches and his little campaign rallies that he's been doing all over Iowa, 3 a day. You can check him out on YouTube. He actually does talk a lot about a lot of different things, because they ask him a lot of really good hard questions, something I don't see any other candidate for the presidency doing. But he keeps saying this thing over and over again, and I agree with it more. This isn't about Donald Trump. This isn't about Vivek Ramaswamy. This is about us. And if we're going to get this country back, we have to demand it back. And they're not going to give it back willingly. The system is designed to protect its own and grow its own power. They are not just going to give it up willingly. We have to take it back. And it's on us. Yeah, Rumble's up. Castro, you know how I do. It's good to see you over here on the YouTube side, though, because I can actually bring up your sup savages. But anyway, yeah, I was getting on a political rant. Oh yeah, our power. In order for us to break this dichotomy of illusion of choice, we have to stop depending on other people. No, literally doesn't have to be. Like, if we would just take responsibility and stop passing the buck on to other people, like, we have to be responsible for our own lives and our own governance. And these people clearly do not have any of our interests in heart. So the system is going to break. It it cannot be sustained. What comes out of that? We are the only ones that have the power to decide the answer to that. it was it was a it was a Fed psyop. I could have told everybody that. Oh wait, in fact, I was on the team of people telling everybody that long before that. Don't go down there. Don't do that. Don't be involved. It's not going to go well. Now they're arresting people who didn't even go in, and investigating people who weren't even there. Huh. When examined closely, the choices we have in the marketplace, in elections, in our jobs, tend to have noticeable limitations. They are often a matter of choosing simply between A and B, with the rest of the alphabet out of the picture. There is no X option. Yet, as long as the faintest mirage of choice flickers on, we rarely focus on the missing options. This is the point I was just trying to make. Because as long as it appears like we have an option that somebody else will do something about it, then we don't have to do anything about it. And that's the option. in this scenario that I think we need to embrace. If we're ever going to get change, it needs to come from the bottom up. It cannot come from the top down. That's how the system is designed. We choose to believe that the game is fair and that we have our freedom. We prefer not to think too much about the depth of our liberty to choose. So, most people don't like the unfortunate, uncomfortable conversation of like, well, what do we do when they've taken away all choice from us and they've given us nothing but an illusion? Because the what do you do involves progressively unpleasant options because you have to do something. The unwillingness to probe the smallness of our choices stems from the fact that too much freedom creates a kind of anxiety. This is also true. The phrase unlimited options sounds infinitely promising, but unlimited options would actually paralyze us and cloud our ability to choose. Our limited range of choices comforts us. And this does actually manifest really clearly in the in certain markets. Uh with a lot of things like they say, you are given basically option A and option B. Sometimes you have a C option, sometimes you have an F class option, but you've got a very limited in most things. But think about things where you have like incredible numbers of options. Say you're trying to buy a car. Do you want to buy a car for one? Would you be better off with a van? Would you prefer a Toyota, a Honda, Chevy, a Ford, et cetera, et cetera? Would you like a new one? Would you like an old one? Would you like a big one? Like, just trying to narrow down all your options for buying a car can be kind of a fucking pain in the ass. And how would you know if you got the perfect one because you didn't explore all the other options? Buying a house, you're limited to what houses are available on the market, but like we'll expand this to where to live. Do you want to live in a trailer? Do you want a house? Do you want an apartment? What city would you like to be in? Would you like to be in the country? Like, et cetera, et cetera. Go on down the list. Like choosing your place to settle down. That's another monster of a choice. Picking the perfect. Oh shit! Happy 420s, y'all. Cheers. Smoke them if you got them. Shit. Cat Ninja, you disrupted my train of thought. Oh yeah, choosing like the perfect partner, like there's someone to spend the rest of your life with. Well, there's 7 billion people on the planet. half of them are roughly half of them are men, roughly half of them are women. If you average out the total global population, um, that's like 3.5 billion potential options. Now there are things that are going to disqualify most of those options. That's still going to leave you with a way more options than you know what to do with. And how will you know you chose the right one? You didn't have the option to try them all. So you just kind of settle for the illusion of choice based on what you perceive as your options because knowing that you have too many options can blow your fucking mind. So there are cases where this is 100% true. So you don't want unlimited options, but you don't want the illusion of choice either. Yeah, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. Oh, 100%. Like the cycle only rolls in one direction. To go back to like our illusion of choice and how bad things are getting with what we perceive as our society of value. Like some people seem to like the way things are headed, which is fucking insane to me. But yeah, I mean, the hard times create the strong men that create the good times, that create the weak men, that create the hard times. It's a cycle and it only rolls one direction. You never see weak men creating good times, and you never see hard times creating weak men. It breaks weak men and brings out the strong which remain. Won't be first world problems for long. You're damn right, Castro. I am 100% with you on that. I did not expect Law 31 to get into a complete political diatribe, but it is all too relevant in today's day and age. Our limited range of choices does comfort us. This supplies the clever and cunning with enormous opportunities for deception. For people who are choosing between alternatives find it hard to believe they are being manipulated or deceived. They cannot see that you are allowing them a small amount of free will in exchange for a much more powerful imposition of your own will. Setting up a narrow range of choices, then, should always be a part of your deceptions. There is a saying: if you can get the bird to walk into the cage on its own, it will sing that much more prettily. I like that saying, and we're kind of in that exact same situation. We're the bird. And they are tracking us with our phones and our computers and every device. Everything we say is recorded somewhere on some server, on some cloud source. They need only go ask for the records from the cloud source, tracking us on our or push notifications. And found that one out recently. So they're getting us to accept further and further uh, conditions on our freedoms. Like, I mean, we saw with what they did in 2020. Everybody saw exactly what happened. We saw this. They're doing exactly what Winning Reality, shout out to him, said they're doing. He's not wrong. Like, they're pushing demoralization, and he's absolutely not wrong about that. However, everybody is just bending to the demoralization. Like, there are certain conversations you can't even have on Rumble because people will automatically assume that you're a Fed infiltrator. And that's exactly what the Feds want you to think. They want you to think everybody who says anything, even remotely pushing the limits, is a Fed infiltrator. And the fact of the matter is, we can't know who is or isn't. And that is how they break your ability to even like collectivize your own group to contest the things that they're doing in their agenda, because you will be infiltrated. And I mean, if you saw the video from the open mic night the other week with Cool Frog, played a James Yeager tactical response video, like how they break you on that one. That's very interesting. Go check that out. The things you can say when you know you're a dead man. The following are among the most common forms of controlling the options. Color the choices. This was a favorite technique of Henry Kissinger as President Richard Nixon's Secretary of State. Kissinger considered himself better informed than his boss and believed that in most situations he could make the best decision on his own. But if he tried to determine policy, he would offend or perhaps enrage a notoriously insecure man. So Kissinger would propose 3 or 4 choices of action for each situation and would present them in such a way that the one he preferred always seemed the best solution compared to the others. Time after time, Nixon fell for the bait, never suspecting that he was moving where Kissinger pushed him, the invisible hand. This is an excellent device to use on the insecure master. So I have had this situation come up where I've looked at a situation at work and I know what I think is the best way to deal with it. But I know if I have to bring this situation up, usually it's because I require resources to fix the problem. I would constantly be undermined by my boss who 100% knew better, even though I was the one who was going to have to do the thing. So maybe it's best since I have a plan and a vision to just let me do it. But usually, if I needed resources for it, for whatever the thing I was doing, I would have to explain and I would have this shit come up. So I had a habit of actually embracing the coloring the choices, like having a few ideas, all of which were acceptable to me, so that I didn't have like an alternative tried to be forced on me. Like just speculate a few different approaches, and you can go ahead and pick the one I was planning to do anyway. That's fine. Usually happen that way. Because the best option do be presenting itself, and it's better than whatever you thought your option was. But yeah, I've come across this one myself several times. Exactly. The Viet Cong was effective not because they had informants in every village, but because people thought there were informants in every village. Fucking exactly. And the fact of the matter is, with anonymity on the internet being as sus as it actually is, you don't know. You don't know if there are informants in your fucking village or not because they don't wear fucking signs. Hmm. I know, Castro. I've seen it happen to you. I've seen you get called a fed. I've seen myself get called a fed. That is the demoralization. Like we don't have any power because anytime we try to collectivize true power, uh, our power is shut down. Like asking, you want chicken, a pork chop, fish sticks, or a bacon cheeseburger with curly fries for dinner? Which would you pick? Bacon cheeseburger personally, but that's all options. And I get curly fries with it. It's not even open for debate. Like, but the reality is, you want to know what the reality is? In a free society, you you don't have to choose. You can have them all, and that is how you get obesity. You have the chicken, the pork chop, the fish sticks, and the bacon cheeseburger with the curly fries on the side to go. Thank you. And this is the best restaurant ever, by the way. Loads of options. Anybody who fish picks fish sticks is either 8 years old or a weirdo, by the way. Force the resistor is key to power two or technique number two. One of the main problems faced by Dr. Milton H. Erickson, a pioneer of hypnosis therapy in the 1950s, was the relapse. His patients might seem to be recovering rapidly, but their apparent susceptibility to the therapy masked a deep resistance. They would soon relapse into old habits, blame the doctor, and stop coming to see him. To avoid this, Erickson began ordering some patients to have a relapse to make themselves feel as bad as when they first came in, to go back to square one. Interesting. Faced with this option, the patients would usually choose to avoid the relapse, which, of course, was what Erickson really wanted. So he actually wanted to help these people and not just keep them coming back. Although, oh shit, I have been manipulated. I gave you those options knowing which you'd pick by how I presented it. Bingo. Well played, Michelle. Well played. This is a good technique to use on children and other willful people who enjoy doing the opposite of what you ask them to. So basically, what that second part of that sentence is saying, women. Women and children. This is a good technique to use on women and children. Push them to choose another defiant little shitheads. I might even fall into this category. I might be a petulant child in my own right. But shit, tell me I can't and I'll do it like you said I couldn't. Fuck out of here. The reverse psychology. Push them to choose what you want them to do by appearing to advocate the opposite. Reverse psychology play. Yeah, I mean, works on women, children, and other easily manipulatable people who have a defiant streak. Alter the playing field. Ooh, this is a fun one. I have altered the deal. Pray I do not alter it further. In the 1860s, John D. Rockefeller set out to create an oil monopoly. If he tried to buy up the smaller oil companies, they would figure out what he was doing and fight back. Instead, he began secretly buying up the railway companies that transported the oil. When he then attempted to take over a particular company and met with resistance, he reminded them of their dependence on the rails, refusing them shipping or simply raising their fees could ruin their business. Nah, ha, ha, you have manipulated the deal. Pray I do not manipulate it further. Robot Chicken Star Wars is best Star Wars. Changed my mind. Here is a unicycle. You will ride it everywhere you go. uh, this deal is very fair, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Rockefeller altered the playing field so that the only options the small oil producers had were the ones he gave them. In this tactic, your opponents know their hand is being forced, but it doesn't matter. The technique is effective against those who resist at all costs. So you basically like make your options the only available options in this regard, which you have to have a significant amount of power to pull the alter the playing field play. I can't think of like a really good relevant example for just like normal people who have normal levels of and aspirations of power. The shrinking options. The late 19th century art dealer Ambroise Vollard perfected this technique. Customers would come to Vollard's shop to see some Cezannes. Cezannes? Yeah, Cezannes. Uh, he would show three paintings, neglect to mention a price, and pretend to doze off. The visitors would have to leave without deciding. They would usually come back the next day to see the paintings again, but this time Vollard would pull out less interesting works, pretending he thought they were the same ones. The baffled customers would look at the new offerings, leave to think them over, and return yet again. Once again, the same thing would happen. Vollard would show paintings of lesser quality still. You offer only options that are passable for what you want, but you make the one you really want more. Yeah, of course. Uh, by including an extra detail or two, or make it seem like they get more in that option, like this one is the best value. Like I had to use that play in a lot of situations where it's like I need you to do this thing. Cezanne, yes. I realized it because the spelling is weird. I've never actually seen it written. I've heard, like, I know who Cezanne is, but I never seen it written down before. Finally, the buyers would realize they had better grab what he was showing them because tomorrow they would have to settle for something worse, perhaps at even higher prices. A variation on this technique is to raise the price every time the buyer hesitates and another day goes by. This is an excellent negotiating ploy to use on the chronically indecisive who will fall for the idea that they are getting a better deal today than if they wait till tomorrow. Rush the situation, like wait the options. Yes. The weak man on the precipice. The weak are the easiest to maneuver by controlling their options. Cardinal de Retz, the great 17th century provocateur, served as an unofficial assistant to the Duke of Orleans, who was notoriously indecisive. It was a constant struggle to convince the Duke to take action. He would hem and haw, weigh the options, and wait until the last moment, giving everyone around him an ulcer. Ah, my goodness, the suspense. The suspense of the chronically undecisive, the procrastinator. Yeah, you do the 1 day sale. By after you mark it up 300%, you reduce that 300% markup by 70% and call it the 1 day sale. Tomorrow, the real price comes back and it's 140% of today's current price before markdown. Yep. Save 100% if you never buy it. And I mean, if you need it and it's on sale, you're probably going to get it anyway. So cool on you, but I don't need it just because it's on sale. I'm not an idiot. Plus, Black Friday is a total scam. But Retz discovered a way to handle him. He would describe all sorts of dangers, exaggerating them as much as possible until the Duke saw a yawning abyss in every direction except one, the one Retz was pushing him to take. This tactic is similar to Color the Choices, but with the weak, you have to be more aggressive. Work on their emotions, use fear and terror to propel them into action. Try reason, and they will always find a way to procrastinate. So the weak man on the precipice is just that guy that needs a push to do the fucking thing. And all this other shit is bullshit. Let's just do this thing. You got to be more assertive about it. If I lived without it before, most likely I can go without it. There's very fucking few things that you actually need if you really get down to it. Okay, let's do a current check. I haven't looked at Rumble for a while. 18 watching on the Rumble side. Shout out to everybody over there. I know I am not paying nearly enough attention. Y'all are talking about that bacon cheeseburger and a what? Normies can't tell the difference between like the choice and the illusion of choice and why their choices are all bullshit. Yes, I'm well aware. They're gonna figure it out. Yeah, smash that plussy. We will never forget. I know they took it away from us, but we will never forget. On the Rumble side, thumbs up on the YouTube side. All 60. I got 6 watching on YouTube and 18 on Rumble. That's fucking dope. As a retail manager, we would increase prices by 10% before putting it on sale for 10%. Just saying. Yeah, that's exactly why Black Friday is a scam, because if you look at like the prices before, they literally just says Black Friday sale and then the same damn price. They can't do that on things with like super consistent prices though. That's why those things don't go on Black Friday sale, because you know what those cost before. Ah. Technique, what is this now? 6? Are we on the 6th technique? Whatever. They're not numbered. But the next technique is Brothers in Crime. And this one I've seen many, many times. This is a classic con artist technique. You attract your victims to some criminal scheme, creating a bond of blood and guilt between you. They participate in your deception, commit a crime, or they think they do. See the story of Sam Giesel in Law 3. And I did cover that back in Law 3. Go check that out. And are easily manipulated. Sergei Stavitsky, the great French con artist, Serge, French. Serge Stavitsky, the great French con artist of the 1920s. You weren't a greater con artist of the 1920s than fucking Woodrow Wilson, though. So entangled the government in his scams and swindles that the state did not dare to prosecute him and chose to leave him alone. So he just got a bunch of government officials implicated in his shit, like the mafia. It is often wise to implicate in your deceptions the very person who can do you the most harm if you fail. It's called a scapegoat. Hey, T3 on the Rumble side. I think everybody has checked in and out over there. Like, I love the fact that the numbers are just like constantly swelling because there's such a fucking audience available that just says fuck YouTube. And if I hadn't started this series on YouTube, I probably wouldn't even be live on YouTube right now. Probably shouldn't be considering all the shit I've said, and it's 2024, but at this point, fuck it. I was never super committed to YouTube anyway, so get out of here. Their involvement can be subtle. Even a hint of their involvement will narrow their options and buy their silence. So it's the whole you can't snitch on me because I'll roll on you dilemma. The horns of a dilemma. This idea was demonstrated by General William Sherman's infamous march through Georgia during the War of Northern Aggression. The War of Northern Aggression, everybody, in the 1860s. Although the Confederates knew what direction Sherman was heading in, they never knew if he would attack from the left or the right, for he divided his army into two wings. And if the rebels retreated from one wing, they found themselves facing the other. Just go south or north. Like if they're on the left and the right, go the other way. And if the rebels retreated from one wing, they found this is a classic trial lawyer's technique. The lawyer leads the witnesses to decide between two possible explanations of an event, both of which poke a hole in their story. So you're saying, I'm just saying. They have to answer the lawyer's questions, but whatever they say, they hurt themselves. And whatever you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The key to this move is to strike quickly. Deny the victim the time to think of an escape because, yeah, if they're attacking you from the left or the right, just back up or go forward. I'm just saying, don't let them enclose you. Easily defeated, the horns of the dilemma. As they wriggle between the horns of the dilemma, they dig their own grave. I love the ominous imagery, and I noticed as this book progresses, Robert Greene's imagery just gets more ominous as it goes, darker as well. Like, I love it. Understand, in your struggles with your rivals, it will often be necessary for you to hurt them. And if you are clearly the agent of their punishment, expect a counterattack. Expect revenge. Duh. If, however, they seem to themselves to be the agents of their own misfortune, they will submit quietly. When Ivan left Moscow for his rural village, the citizens asking him to return agreed to his demand for absolute power. Over the years to come, they resented him less for the terror he unleashed on the country because, after all, they had granted him his power themselves. This is why it is always good to allow your victims their choice of poison and to cloak your involvement in providing it to them as far as possible. So if you have to do the really bad thing, number one, try to make it seem like they did this to themselves, and people are fairly stupid. They're not too hard to convince in most cases that a thing that has been done to them, they have done to themselves. People are inherently insecure, a lot of them. So it definitely fits. And yeah, let them choose the instrument by which it happens. Image, the horns of the bull. The bull backs you into the corner with its horns, not a single horn, which you might be able to escape, but a pair of horns that trap you within their hold. Run left or right, either way you move, into their piercing ends and are gored, which is why a bull can out trap you and a rhinoceros can't. However, a rhinoceros can just gore you with one horn and stampede the shit out of you. Yeah, there you go. The illusion of choice. Watch Darth on YouTube or Rumble. The choice is yours. Ha ha ha. I have tricked you. All 8 of you that are watching on YouTube and all 20 fucking 2 of you that are watching on Rumble. Shout out to those people. Like, if one out of the 22 of you isn't subscribed and could just I got bump me up to 55, like maybe even 56. That's not a choice. It's really not a choice at all. Rumble for the win. Like, but yeah, like I'm loving the fact that my Rumble does 3 times the viewership with 1/3 of the followers. Imagine if I had the kind of numbers watching, following that I had on YouTube. But shout out to the Rumble Ghetto Gang. Like y'all are the gangsters, the trailblazers, the audience that is building a platform, not the platform that built the audience. Because YouTube was a platform that built the audience, but with Rumble, the audience is definitely building the platform, and it shows. It fucking shows. Authority. For the wounds and every other evil that men inflict upon themselves spontaneously and of their own choice are in the long run less painful than those inflicted by others. Machiavelli. God, that's definitely got to be the next book is The Prince. I remember when Darth used to say Rumble. Rumble is still kind of gay. I mean, if you look in there, it's a giant rainbow in my chat. They're getting better. I knew they were going to get better. They were gay. Like, Rumble used to suck as a user interface, and you know it. You couldn't tag people. You like emojis were shit. Like the chat feature was fucking garbage, and the player feature worked half the time. Like, yeah, it used to be trash, and I knew they would get better. My constant gripe was they were dumping so much money into like recruiting like named creators that they wanted to represent their brand that they weren't spending the money to improve the interface. And then they dumped some money into the interface, and lo and behold, all my complaints went away because they did the fucking thing I asked. The one gripe I have with Rumble is I can't block people who spam incessantly, and I don't like blocking people in general, but if you're just spamming, I it ruins everything. Like that's censorship. That's not free speech. If you're just spamming to ruin a chat, that is a form of censorship. It's not free speech, and it the fact that I can't block, like I can block people if they were to come to my channel, like I can ban them, but as a just observer in other people's chats, I have to depend on them to have moderators to do the fucking job of getting rid of spam, which is bullshit. I should be able to just delete that and not have to block that and not have to see it. So yeah, they're gonna get that feature eventually. Like I know they're gonna do all the things, and people are gonna want the ability uh, to do that. So we be patient. I love the direction they're going in, and outside of governmental interference, which is the big thing I'm afraid of, and I hear a lot of like establishment people talking about like trying to uh, go ahead and really crack down on the whole internet and not just try to backdoor through shit through backdoor deals with major tech companies. Like, but anyway, let's wrap this one up. We're almost at 2 hours, and we are now at the reversal. Controlling the options has one main purpose: to disguise yourself as the agent of power and punishment. The tactic works best, then, for those whose power is fragile and who cannot operate too openly without incurring suspicion, resentment, and anger. So basically, the deceiver. If you have like just overt power, you don't need to resort to these type of tactics. It can be useful in some cases, especially when dealing with rivals and equals. But like if you just have like the power over everyone, you just overtly impose your will through force usually. Even as a general rule, however, it is rarely wise to be seen as exerting power directly and forcefully, no matter how secure or strong you are. It's it's good to let people think that they're choosing, because that does not foment the type of resentment that giving people no choice actually foments. Squab, I don't have a backdoor deal with anyone, thank goodness. Yes, for your backdoor. Gay? Yeah, Rumble is so much better than even a few months ago, Castro. Like the moment they started working on the user interface, and they even like are working on the streaming interface as well on the back end. So like doing streams on Rumble's even easier, and watching them is more enjoyable. Like, yeah, I've got nothing but praise for the direction Rumble is going in. And I've even been telling people on YouTube that there is a market, there is an audience on Rumble that isn't oversaturated with creators that just want to support the platform. So you have like as a small to medium sized creator, you have an opportunity over there that you don't have here on YouTube, because YouTube has hundreds of thousands of creators, so many fucking creators. Yes, there's millions of people watching, but when you have such a huge amount of content you can watch and so many different creators, like that's the infinite options thing that we were just talking about a few minutes ago. What do you watch? You can't watch it all. So you have to like narrow down. Like I've got 700 YouTube channels that I'm subscribed to, more than 700. I can't possibly watch them all. So I go through my feed of what have you dropped for me lately, and I pick out what looks interesting based on what kind of mood I'm in, unless I'm looking for something specific. Or I'm watching some of the creators that like no matter what, I'm going to be there, like because they're my creators and I'm part of their community. There's there's still a few of them. Very few, but still a few. It is usually more elegant and more effective to give people the illusion of choice. On the other hand, by limiting other people's options, you sometimes limit your own. There are situations in which it is to your advantage to allow your rivals a large degree of freedom. As you watch them operate, you give yourself rich opportunities to spy, gather information, and plan your deceptions. The 19th century banker James Rothschild, Jesus, have we mentioned the Morgans, the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers in this chapter? Hmm. And this is about deceptive power and the illusion of choice? Hmm. I'm just saying. I'm not implying nothing, but we have mentioned J.P. Morgan, we have mentioned John D. Rockefeller, and now we are mentioning James Rothschild. Just saying, like, if you know, you know. If you don't know, uh, look into it. He felt that if he tried to control his opponent's movements, he lost the chance to observe their strategy and plan a more effective course. So he's reacting, but he's reacting and countering. The more freedom he allowed them in the short term, the more forcefully he could act against them in the long run, playing the long game. Is that it? That's it. Oh, well, that's it. So sometimes it is best to just like allow your opponents to do their thing and plan your reaction according to how they operate. Seems like a reasonable scenario. So that was a lot of fun. I was actually like, some of these hit harder than others, but yeah, this one here definitely relevant for our current point in time in addressing what is actual power in the world. So hopefully everybody took something away from that. I'm glad I could. I love it when I can make it relevant. I love it when I can explain it in a way that makes sense to me and interpret it in my own. Like some of these are just like, yeah, I don't agree and I can't interpret, but this one definitely on the list. So, anyone got any final thoughts? Because my final thought is simply like observe the world around you, notice where you have choice and where you have illusion of choice, and understand that when you're being given an illusion of choice, your power is being greatly limited. Maybe if we all demanded better options and better choices, maybe if we were all better, we would deserve better. If we were stronger ourselves, maybe we would have better options and we wouldn't be choosing between the lesser of two self serving fucking evils this November. Just saying. Shout out everybody on the Rumble side. Y'all were super dope. Thanks for coming. Cool Frog found my Darth Gay emoji. Yeah, I was having fun. Rumble lets you do custom emojis too, which is also a super cool thing that YouTube doesn't have, unless you like are monetized and have subscribers, and then they're only for your subscribers. I can actually do these for anyone, so I could make them subscriber only, but I don't really want y'all subscribing and dumping a bunch of money. Like, go do a Rumble Pro subscription if you want to support the platform that allows me to say pretty much whatever I want. But anyway, that's not an illusion of choice like Rumble and you%. Okay. Let's go blue. Yeah, national championship tonight, 7:30, so I do have to go get ready for that. We have the illusion of choice. We are bound by our will. I'm bound by God's will, but I still do believe that I have freedom of choice in how to how to get to that. That's another entire discussion for another entire time. But thank you all for coming to this early installment. I think I'll be back to normal time on Wednesday. And should be normal time on Friday. I'll keep you posted if anything changes. And I will catch you all either out in the ether, on the Discords, or back here Wednesday night, y'all. Law 32. Hold on. Before we head out, Law 32 is, hold on. Play to people's fantasies. Oh boy. Are we all ready to embrace Pretendo? I'll see y'all Wednesday. We'll find out. Love y'all. Hideous. Hold on. Lagging. Hideous lagging. Hideous